Hey! Greetings, fellow gamers. I'm Jim. I use he, him pronouns, and I am very excited because today on Channel Other Doc we are playing Rosette Diceless publicly! I have been honored to help playtest the game, and it is very cool to see it out in the wild now. The scenario we're playing is called Still Waters Run Deep. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves and say what characters we're playing, and then I'm going to hand things off to our narrator, Melissa. I'm going to start with Christiana. Hello!
Hello! I'm Christiana. I use she, her pronouns. I've never played Rosette Diceless before, but I'm excited to give it a shot.
Yay!
And should I say who I'm playing?
Yes. Who are you playing?
Okay. I'm playing Ann Kessel, who is a retired police officer who is, I guess she's, are we doing full descriptions or everything? I don't want to disrupt the pattern. Sure. Go ahead.
Pattern?
Ann Kessel. She's a retired police officer.
And Kelly.
Hi. I'm Kelly, she, her, and I've never played any Diceless RPG before, let alone this particular one, so I'm super pumped about it. Whole new world for me. And today I'm playing Stacy Johnson, who is a chemistry lab technician. She works in a lab at the local university. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Is that as brief as we're going to go?
Yeah, sure, why not? Also, of course, I'm going to be playing Dr. Adrian Orbach. Used to be a teacher, is now just a general practitioner. So I was also at one time associated with the university. And let's move and let's hand things over to Melissa. Hello.
Hello. So I'm Melissa. They, them pronouns. And I am a co-author of this system, co-designer. We will see if I remember all the rules. That's funny. So my studio is called Future Proof Games, and we released this system 2 months ago now. So this particular scenario, I will give you all a description of it. It is set in 1971. The players, the characters, are going to a rural valley to figure out why the various elite that are funding this perfectly charitable research project at Belmont Somerset University are dying. They're going to attend a genuine Southern picnic at this immaculately maintained former plantation house, where things will turn gruesome pretty quickly, I think. So let me talk a little bit about Rosette Diceless as a system, and then and introduce a couple of sort of broad, out-of-character concepts for us to work with. Rosette Diceless is a system that focuses on improvisation. Hi, Kat. Improvisation, on collaboration, and consent. So we want to focus on not necessarily just reading what's on the character sheet, but what your character might do in this scenario. And this is a one shot, right? So you haven't like sat with these characters for multiple sessions. So taking that into account. You want to leave openings for people to role play. So if it's their turn in a conflict and they might not be sure what to do, you can kind of offer a nudge and be like, oh, hey, let me help you set up the situation where your skills and expertise are appropriate. Be creative in how you take stress. This is not a system in which guns necessarily cause bleeding. It is a system in which when bad things happen, you can have anything from feelings to physical damage, right? So be creative in stress. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is interesting. Failure can be funny. Okay, so that covers my initial bullet points. Creativity, I'll talk about rules as they come up so that we don't just have me doing this for 10 minutes. Of course, I did this for 20 minutes before the stream started, so here we are. One really important concept I want to bring up is the X card, which is something created by Steve Stavropoulos. It's a very Greek last name. I don't know how to pronounce that perfectly. And it's an idea where if there's something that's making you uncomfortable, you can just say, hey, I'd like to throw the X card on that. You can also put it in chat in our group chat that we're using for this if you don't feel comfortable saying it out loud. And whoever's doing the thing stops doing the thing. Switch tracks, come up with a different situation. And this can be anything from, I'm not here for spiders tonight, to this medical description's a little too far, to whatever, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be very uncomfortable to use it. If you're uncomfortable, use it. And there should be a minimal amount of discussion about it unless it's unclear what it is that's being X-carded. So feel free to use that liberally. Just because you were playing a horror game does not mean you were signing up, that you were automatically giving consent for every single horrific trope that we know can be hot garbage. So that's important. Another important concept here is the conflict system of Rosette Diceless. Instead of having combat, like moving in the way like a D&D game, so say, okay, we're taking initiative, now we're going into combat rounds. Rosette Diceless uses a conflict system that is broader. So it can be a fight, that's fine. But it covers situations in which players have a goal and they will accept a consequence for failure to meet that goal. So that can be an investigation, that can be a fight, it can be a mixture of both. So you might be surprised at how quickly we move into a conflict, because if we're at a point at which it sounds like you're going to make a decision on what you want your goal in this thing to be, we're going to move into that structure. It kind of has a way, it's a good way for us to keep moving and keep pace without sort of wandering off into soft RP land. So the conflict in this, I'll talk about sort of how the rules of that work once we get to it. This is being kept short, so it's an easier conflict than one might run otherwise, because we are sort of time boxed here. So any initial questions? Okay. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about our characters. So we have our 3 characters. Each one of them has a job. They have connections to each other, and they have a secret. And the secret is a question that only one other person in this game knows the answer to. And I don't know the answer to any of them, nor should I. So can we go around and each person kind of talk a little bit about their personality, maybe say what their tie is, and give the question that is their secret? All right. I have Zoom open, so let's start with Jim.
Okay.
Should probably have the stream open.
The character to whom I'm tied is Stacy Johnson. We probably saw each other frequently at the university back when I was teaching there. There was a little learning hospital that was attached to it at the time. I don't know if those are period, but they are now, and as of 1971. Afterward, we probably did not see each other that often. After I stopped working there, I just quit and just set up my own practice. So the question, and I say the question, yes, is that right?
Yeah, yes, you do say the question.
Okay. So the question is, why did you quit working for the university despite doing well? And that's the deal with Dr. Orbach.
Excellent. All right. Kelly, you want to go next?
Sure. So Stacy is a young woman who is a lab technician, like I said, at the university. And she is a fairly blunt person, but she's very intelligent. She's very good with equipment and technology, whatever, loosely defined in 1971. And she is connected to our police officer, Anne, who they were both part of an investigation. So when Stacy was a young child, she was involved in an investigation that was led by Anne something like 20 years ago. So they've known each other for a very long time, but Stacy is kind of always asking questions of Anne and trying to learn more about whatever happened to that investigation. And her question for Stacy's secret is, why can't she sleep at night?
Excellent. All right, Christiana.
So, Officer Ann Kessel is in her mid-50s and worked for several decades as an officer of the police department. And she has since retired, but she is still in pretty good shape, and she, looks fit and always ready for any danger should it arrive. But she is tied by the investigation formerly mentioned with Stacy Johnson, and also sees Dr. Orbach as a patient.
Excellent. All right. So, fortifying gulp of coffee. Let's move into it. So, I can't sleep lumpy mattress. I'm a fan of this.
I understand.
You do understand.
Oh, yes.
So the party that you've been asked to attend is set at Belmont Gardens, which is a former plantation. It's massive, acres and acres and acres. It is immaculate, like perfect lawns, beautiful gardens, not one wilted flower, the whole place. And this is like classic, right? Columns and big porches and all that sort of Southern stuff. Multiple structures on multiple structures on the property, and there is set up sort of in the side yard this massive barbecue. Like, this is the swankest barbecue. This is not like a family picnic. This is a row of grills with a row of cooks and like fine linen at the tables, and folks milling around are dressed quite professionally. So very nice dresses, very expensive suits, even people that you might recognize as researchers are dressed very well. So some of the sort of notable people that you would have been told to look out for, that you would recognize either from news, would be, and I will endeavor not to just give you a list of names, but here are some sort of interesting kinds of people you might look for. There is Lucette Gardinier, who one of you knows and has worked with, and she's a Canadian philanthropist who's moved to the South. It's unclear why, maybe the weather. There is a woman holding 2 pagers, one in each hand, and that is Leah, the founder of a genetics biomed company. There's the host and hostess of the party, who are sort of floating around in the way that Southern hosts do, checking up on people. You recognize that there's one of the interim head researcher is at this party. You know that the primary investigator, primary researcher, died recently. Very inconvenient for the project. And then there's a variety of other rich people, some students, but mostly it's sort of these expensive people. And then there's a lot of house staff. So as you approach down this winding dirt road, it's very clear where to park. It's very clear kind of where to go. So tell me how each of you is sort of coming into this party, sort of how you've chosen to dress, are you going straight for the barbecue or what?
I was invited to this party after sharing a couple of drinks with one of the researchers in a bar, and it seemed to be there was something a little fishy about it, but also I don't meet that many gentlemen, and I don't want to completely eliminate any possibility of a future, so I decided to come, even though this is not my normal sort of environment to be in. I am wearing a dress, but it is not something I'm used to wearing, and am quite uncomfortable in it.
Excellent.
Now, I imagine that Adrian ended up just finding out about it through some of the teachers that he's still friends with, who who came by and told him about it at some point. One night they were out drinking or something, and so we found out this party was going on, and he's a mite curious to see just how if there are going to be other faculty or former faculty there. He wants to sort of catch up with some folks, and then is also kind of curious to see things that are going on, and how if those who were holding the purse strings are still the same ones holding the purse strings, and it's really more of a spectator sport for him. Really, he just wants to go and watch the various rich Southern folk destroy each other.
So Stacy was invited by a lab technician that works in the main research group under question here. The two of them are the only female lab techs at the university. And so they kind of eat lunch together every day just to have some kind of companionship. And when this other technician found out she was expected to attend this party, Stacy was brought in as backup, kind of. I imagine she doesn't have quite the same degree of fancy dress as everyone else. I think she kind of showed up in the equivalent of like a sundress. So she's definitely kind of, it sounds like underdressed for the occasion, but it was her best attempt.
I forgot to mention that I was the clothing. You asked about the clothing. So Adrian probably walks in was wearing a sort of an. I'm trying to think of what the color is. It's that shade that's kind of between off-white and khaki. I can't remember what that shade is called.
Like eggshell when it's not on a wall.
Yeah, like non-vertical eggshell. Sort of pseudo cream colored suit with sort of silk striped tie, which is probably slightly more expensive than the suit itself. He doesn't like to be too ostentatious if he can help it, but he does try to look nice. as he sort of goes in, and so he's got he looks very much, he's not tuxing it up or anything, but he's trying to look nice.
All right. Are you all arriving? Yeah, well, we could say you arrive roughly the same time, approximately. Okay. So as you pull up in whatever conveyance that you are arriving in, you're greeted, you're sort of ushered out of your cars by someone who works for the house. Young black woman opens your door, helps you out, says, party's just over there. You can, you're welcome to any food. The Belmonts would love to meet you. And welcome to Belmont Gardens.
Thank you.
All right. So,
and I think Stacy kind of gets out and she's trying to straighten her dress, and you can imagine she probably arrived in a beat up old pickup truck.
Nice.
And she looks around in all the other much nicer looking vehicles and is like,
yeah. I think as Anne arrives, she's immediately looking around for the man who invited her, but instead she probably sees first Dr. Orbach and is a little bit alarmed because it's worlds colliding. But to be polite, well, Dr. Orbach, what a surprise to see you here.
Anne? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
how are you doing?
Yes. I wasn't sure you would recognize me in my fancy clothes here.
No, I think I'd recognize you anywhere probably, but you look very nice.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you for the compliment anyway.
No, I've got some friends at the university. I just thought I'd come by, check it out.
Oh, well, I suppose I expect you know a few people here then.
Yes. Actually, a few folks. Do you want me to would you like to come do the rounds with me?
Well, sure. I suppose at some point too, I would probably spot Stacy, and I think my first reaction is to not immediately go over there.
So it's like as we're just sort of wandering around and I'm kind of chatting with folks, and it's some of them it's kind of hard to tell possibly. Well, actually, let me check my stats that everyone but me is looking at right now on the screen. No, I do not have. Okay, all right, gotcha. I probably occasionally will do that thing where I'm sort of writing that line halfway between. I'm not doing it like in full sniping Southern mode, as it sometimes tends to be. But I'm doing more of the thing where it's like, so I'm not quite approaching insulting people sometimes while complimenting them, but it's sort of a thing where I'll just sort of leave a question open usually when talking to some of them. But some of the faculty, most of the faculty that we talk to, it's pretty much I'm generally all right with. But then probably I'm guessing that I'm turned around talking to someone else when you spot Stacy. And then I'm probably in a moment going to turn around and see her. So unless you prevent it, we are probably going to head in that direction.
Right. Well, I'm not actively avoiding so much as not initiating either. I think as I'm introduced to various individuals, I fidget with my handbag an awful lot, and say yes and answer brief questions, but otherwise am generally very awkward and looking around. Do I see the gentleman who invited me, or am I adrift entirely?
Yes. Do you have a name?
Well, so I don't necessarily know if what characters you have planned as involved, but maybe just like Benjamin. His name is Benjamin.
Sure. All right. So Benjamin is standing with a couple of folks that that range in age. They look pretty academic. They also look really worried. There's sort of there's a tension here at this party where people are clumped up, and they're looking around a little bit. It's not like they're expecting something to like come out of the ground and eat them, but there's definitely, for all that they're partaking in the cutting Southern banter that Adrian is there for. There's definitely, folks are uncomfortable. So yeah, you see Benjamin. There's some, like I said, a mixture of sort of academic people standing around with them.
So I think that what Dr. Orbach would notice is that Anne is definitely looking over there, fretting a bit, but also not going over there, but kind of in an obvious way.
Okay. Let me actually also. I will. I will just sort of. As that's happening, before I go over, since I've I've had you as a patient before, and I know kind of to a certain extent what some of your things you may have going on. As sort of, I'll ask. Do you you're gonna be all right talking to these folks, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'm just feeling a little out of place.
That's fine.
I felt like coming to this was supposed to be getting myself out there, but now that I'm here, I'm a little just feeling like a bull in a china shop, so to speak. I feel like I'm just can't touch anything or else I'll ruin it.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that most of these folks just bulls in suits. Nothing to worry about. But let me see. Actually, and if I know to make it more comfortable before I go over and talk to. Well, actually, now that is the thought. Do I think that? Do I think that Stacy is the type of person that Anne might get along with? As I have no idea that they know each other.
Well, Stacy's pretty blunt and straightforward. I actually imagine that if the second she sees the person that invited her here, she's just gonna kind of stomp over there. She's not really one to mince words or actions. Yeah. So
yeah, I think that
you might think she might be encouraging of our police officer friend to kind of dive in.
I think that's the impression that I have. So I'm actually when I see her, I say, you know what? Now I think there's someone you might get along with here, and but you see that I am starting to head toward Stacy Johnson.
Okay, I think while I'm gonna follow along because it's the path of least resistance at the moment, but I think that Anne would be maintaining at least partial awareness on Benjamin during all of this, just because at some point he invited her here, and then she'll have to initiate that contact at some point, but perhaps not right now. But she's still kind of paying attention to what's going on over there. Yeah. But yeah, so she'll follow Dr. Orbach over.
Is Stacy in the middle of already going towards someone else, or is?
I think maybe she got there a minute or so after, so you probably see her kind of getting out of her truck and getting situated.
Okay. All right. So I just basically, as I just sort of approaching, I say, well, so they do let you out of the lab every now and then.
Only briefly.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. How have you been doing? How have you?
Yeah. You know, the patients are much less stressful than college students. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sort of surprised to see you here.
Well,
hello, Stacy.
Hello, Anne. Do you have anything for me? Anything? You know I have to ask.
Well, if I had anything for you, Stacy, I would be sure to let you know. I'm sorry that I have not turned up anything of the type you're looking for.
I feel like drinks might be a good idea right now. I'll
yes, beer for me, please.
Yes, I'll be right back. Would you like anything? Would you like? I say, turning to Stacy.
Best not get too wild for me with all of my bosses around. Like a lemonade or something.
Lemonade it is. I know they seem to have heaps of it. I spotted the bar quite early. I'll be right back.
When you turn around, Mrs. Belmont is practically on your heels.
I just sort of turn around and I'm like, hello.
Why, hello. I don't think I know you.
Is she speaking to all of us or just to me?
She looks at you and then her eyes sweep the three of you.
Hello, Mrs. Belmont. Thank you for hosting this awesome party.
Awesome.
Amelia invited me. She works on the project. Yeah, that's hello. And she holds her hand out.
You get a very southern hand out, and a very soft handshake.
And I very awkwardly.
She reaches her hand out to Adrian, to Dr. Orbach.
Huh. I will lean forward and take it kind of as though I am about to shake it, and then take it as though I'm about to do the whole gentleman kissing the hand thing, and then at the last moment just sort of turn it into a handshake, and I'll say, oh yes, why yes, I was. I'm Adrian Orbach. I used to be on the faculty. Got invited by Eric. It's still causing trouble there, I assume.
Well, I don't involve myself in the minutiae of academia, but welcome. And you three seem underfed and under.
Well, I think I'm not feeling especially hungry right at the moment, but I'm a guest of Benjamin over yonder, but he seems busy at the moment.
Ah, yes, Benjamin. Well, you can feel free to interrupt. I mean, you know how it is. Men will just talk and talk, so you can assert yourself. Come, let me get you food and beverage. Have you been shown around? Are you aware? Well, I'll just tell you. Look, you can wait for staff to come by to provide you food. That's really the best way. If you sit, they'll come to your table. You could also, if you wanted to put forth the effort, go to the picnic tables themselves with the buffet laid out. Either way, you are our guests. Facilities are inside. You will see discreet signs for them. Please do not wander inside the house beyond the common areas. And you should meet my husband, Mr. Belmont, at your leisure while you're here this afternoon. Is there anything that I can get you?
We were just about to hunt down some drinks, in fact.
Oh, well, I'll get someone to take your order and save you the walk.
Many thanks.
Thank you,
ma'am.
She waves over someone who tries not to look very harried as they come over. And all the staff are like black and white dressed, like not necessarily tuxedos, but very like clearly service personnel, right? And Ms. Belmont says, well, enjoy the party, and as I said, make sure that you say hello to your host before you depart. And she wanders off. The staff dude comes by and says, what can I get you?
Lemonade.
I'll just have a beer if you have it.
Import or American?
American, I guess.
Scotch? Neat.
Very well. You may sit. I will find you, or you can stay here.
I think I would want to glance on over to Benjamin and assess for myself if he really seems approachable and interruptible, or if that would be a problem of some sort.
The group around. This is my cat Jackie.
It's an attack.
Yeah.
The place is swarming with cats.
Feels like it some days. The crowd around Benjamin has thinned, and it's just a couple people. They look like they've relaxed a little bit, so definitely seems more approachable than before.
Okay. I think without, she'll go ahead and wait for the beer first, I think.
All right.
I think Stacey will look at them and be like, food? Anyone else want food? I want food.
Food sounds good.
And she'll just turn, like, very sharply turn and start walking towards the picnic tables.
Well, that one is a Spitfire for certain.
Oh, she is. It's one of the things I do miss about the university is actually some of the people there, and Stacey Johnson is no exception to that.
So you know her then from studies? You were a teacher?
Yes, that's right, and sort of taught medicine, a little bit of surgery, and she was in chem, and we sometimes had some projects we would do together from time to time.
Well, I'm glad she's making something of herself. Every so often you run into people who just let incidents in their background ruin everything for their future, but it seems like she's doing well.
And I just sort of I looked and said, well, she has the skills. She's better at what she does than I am at what I do. I can tell you that for certain.
On that note, like, is Stacey doing well? Does she look like she's doing well?
She looks highly caffeinated. So like she's clearly very like alert, and she looks fine, but she's a little like jittery and kind of very sharp and like.
All right. Well, I think Anne admires her ability to just know what she wants and then go and get it instead of hesitating. But do we get our drinks brought to us? Or
Yeah, drinks are brought quickly. The scotch is very high quality, higher than perhaps you might have even been expecting.
That's good stuff.
The lemonade is fresh squeezed and very sweet, pulp strained. And what was I forget what the third drink was.
Oh, it's just a beer.
Okay. Your beer is, I don't know if this is off time, but poured into a frosted glass and an appropriate wedge of whatever fruit is for that, like Blue Moon style. So yes, you are served this beer as if it is the fanciest champagne.
Except to kind of just like an awkward sort of half curtsy, like.
You're welcome. And the person wanders off.
So I think Anne just goes ahead and takes 3 big swallows of the beer and says, "Well, no sense waiting," and head on over to Benjamin.
All right. Remind me what Benjamin's job is.
So I had envisioned that, obviously it was some position that would have gotten him invited to this party, but I had, so I was thinking he was involved with perhaps some non-technical aspect of the project, just like resource management, maybe something like that.
Ah, okay. Let's say he is an admin in the department attached to this project because it's big enough that it needs, someone to manage its resources since it's financially kind of encapsulated. Admin on the project. Cool. So,
and I had been thinking that in our previous meeting over drinks, some of what he had said had perhaps seemed a little bit off to me, but I have been consciously making an effort to avoid letting my police officers' instincts ruin everything in my life.
Wonder how that might happen. All right, so Benjamin has mentioned that they have to acquire, in addition to equipment and things like that, they have to acquire parts for whatever they're constructing and devising as part of this. They're running through supplies faster than they should be for the number of subjects that they have and the amount of onboarding that they have. They didn't seem terribly panicked about it, but that was kind of one of the things that's he's a little more stressed than he might otherwise be. And he definitely mentioned now they have an interim head of the project because Dr. Holland died recently. So there's, sort of chaos and overhead and stuff involved with that. So,
so I think with a little bit of liquid courage, Anne will go on over and make her presence known.
All right.
Could Amelia, the other lab tech, kind of be standing in this group?
Yeah. Yep.
I imagine that she works pretty closely with the acquisitions side of things, checking in materials and whatnot, unboxing. So I imagine that maybe Stacy kind of loads up a plate and kind of walks over to the group with this big old plate of food, and waves at Amelia. Yeah. It's a Southern party when they do the fried chicken, right?
Oh yeah.
And I imagine that her relationship with Amelia is they eat lunch together.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They don't do anything else, and I can picture Stacy being the very dominant personality.
All right.
So she kind of walks up and she's like, "Ah, are you a murderer?"
Amelia's like, hi. Glad you made it.
It's a lot better than the lunch we usually get to bring.
I know, right? I devoured some of the barbecue chicken earlier, but so sticky, messy. Anyway, have you talked to anybody yet?
Yeah, I went. You know me, I went straight for the food, and then I thought I would come say hello. It seems like you guys were having a good chat earlier.
Yeah, gotta, say hello, stick together. It's a work party, sort of. So I don't know. What am I gonna say to the head of a fancy company?
Right? Like they're. I'd rather be back in the lab.
Me too. I mean, aside from the food, they could ship this in. That'd be great.
Would Stacy see the doc and Anne kind of slowly heading over?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just so I had envisioned Anne not necessarily making sure she was alone, but not waiting necessarily for anyone to come with. So I don't know if Doc is following her or.
I probably want to catch up, so I'm probably I'm just sort of I've been sort of yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's either that or wander around like a leaf on the wind on this thing. So. All
right. Yeah. So I think following Anne, you're definitely seeing sort of like stiff backed, like I am forcing myself to do something I am terrified of.
Mm-hmm. But that being the case, actually. Again, it's I will stop if it looks as though you're and steer in another direction if it looks as though it's getting too uncomfortable for you, as far as I can tell, which I don't know if I can or not, but I have empathy, so maybe I can.
Benjamin's friendly. As soon as Benjamin sees you approaching, he's like, "Hey, come on by."
Oh, yes, well, it's good to see you. I arrived a little bit ago, but so many people here, I didn't find you right away.
Well, you just tuck right in over here, and we'll make sure you stay comfortable and well fed. How are they pushing this much food? There's a lot of food here for the amount of people.
Oh well, I'm certainly not used to this sort of a party. I thought maybe they were all like this.
I don't come to these very often, but there's money in this project, so they cater in sometimes at work. Any particular topics that you want to talk about with Benjamin?
Well, no. So I'm thinking that this is the first thing that's even close to a date that Anne has been on in probably 15 years. So that is where she's at right now.
Okay. You might not be sure if that's where Benjamin is.
Yeah.
But
I think Anne, having retired in slightly difficult circumstances, has lost a lot of her social circle as a result, and is a bit hungry for attention, and not in a euphemism way, but just a literal, like she's been a little isolated way.
Yeah. He's super charming. We'll keep a conversation going all by himself. He definitely relaxes a bit seeing you there, whereas before he'd been kind of tense with his colleagues. And as you're standing there chatting, you hear there's some sort of kerfluffle happening by the door, the French doors to get into the actual house. It's a group of people standing there. They're murmuring. They're looking increasingly upset. And someone, there's a man there that kind of backs away from the crowd and says, "You have got to be kidding me. We're here for a party. Who is doing this?" And you see Mrs. Belmont sort of trying to calm him down, but he's like tearing his hands through his hair. He's very upset. He's like, "Let me in there. I have to see her," and pushes his way through and goes inside.
I think Anne definitely has some very sort of powerful instincts to feel like she needs to insert herself in that situation. And so I think right now she is resisting that, but kind of can't stop looking over there and maybe kind of edging in that direction and sort of. So I've not been to these sorts. Is that out of the ordinary?
Benjamin looks terrified. He's like, he says, everyone's on edge. There's with Dr. Holland's recent passing, God rest her soul, things have just been a little tense. It's probably nothing. It's probably just, someone got overexcited, the heat, maybe fainted.
So, you said he looks terrified. Do I feel like he's giving me a line here, or?
Probably. Or giving you an optimistic, a deliberately optimistic interpretation of what's happening. Your bullshit meter's going off.
Okay. You think he might hurt someone?
Do I think Benjamin might hurt someone?
No.
I'm asking in character. Sorry.
Yeah. Who is that? Do you think? He looked a little more hot and bothered than I would have expected for an ordinary sort of business matter.
Oh well, that's Dr. Nevin. That's our current lead researcher. Interim. He's really stressed. It's new position. His boss died. He won't hurt anybody by any means. No. Very calm guy normally. He'll just he'll throw back a few and then he'll relax.
Do I know Nevin?
Yes. Nevin has definitely, he's a biochem professor and researcher. Not much of a professor, really. Kind of one of those like, I'm here to get my tenure doing research, and where's my flock of TAs for actually holding class?
Go forth, my TAs.
But actually a nice person.
Okay.
Easy to work with, but has no interest in pedagogy or any sort of.
Oh, so this must be awesome for him. And actually,
yes.
Come to think of it, I say that out loud. Oh, this all must be excellent for him. Oh, goodness. I don't think he doesn't really like dealing with the sort of things I imagine Dr. Holland did. Not all of them.
Do you think Dr. Nevin was involved in Dr. Holland's?
What? Well, no,
What?
no, wait. No, well, no, I'm just saying that Dr. Nevin has got to be under a lot of pressure right now because he doesn't like, having to deal with hierarchies as much.
Yeah, of course. You're right. Yep.
I wonder if someone ought to make sure he's okay and not in a mind to do something he might regret later.
Yeah,
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So Dr. Nevin has moved away from the crowd. There's still a crowd around the door. They're starting to disperse a little bit, but they're staying very clumped. And Dr. Nevin has moved off and is sitting at one of the nice tables and like is just
Okay.
head down.
I thought I had misunderstood. I thought you said he pushed his way inside.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Yes. Pushed his way inside through the crowd. But there other people are clearly being blocked from going in.
I feel like in between mouthfuls of potato salad,
Yes.
Stacy would look at Anne and be like, I need the restroom. Do you need the restroom?
I think Anne takes a second, but then just says, "Yes, I think that we ought to both of us go in and use the restroom."
Yes. And, Doc,
Yes.
would you mind accompanying us ladies to the restroom to hold our bags?
I would be delighted.
Anne very
She's not subtle.
concertedly
She's
does
not subtle.
Yeah. I think that Anne very concertedly does not offer her bag to. I think what you guys, everyone else would certainly notice is that Anne is carrying a small handbag that looks like it's, got something a little heavy in it, maybe, and she does not let it out of her possession.
Excellent.
Safety is important. All right.
I think to Benjamin would just say, perhaps we could just approach the gentleman quietly and just make sure everything's okay. And
maybe that if they, yeah, it's probably good.
yeah, please excuse me. Don't worry. I'll be right back.
I'll be waiting.
And I feel like at this point, Stacy's like wiped her mouth and the plate is empty and she kind of passes it off to some
person.
black and white suited person that walks by.
You get a wet towelette for your hands.
And I think Stacy and Dr. Orbach would notice a change, an almost immediate change in Anne's body language as she has asked Benjamin to wait, and now this is business. This is serious, so.
All right. So you all head up to the French doors where folks are kind of congregated.
Excuse us, we must now go on safari to find. We must now go on safari to find the restroom. Excuse us.
You see Maverick Belmont of said Belmont Gardens, who keeps a twirled mustache. I do not know the name of that mustache. I'm sure it has a name.
I know there's a chart and everything, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's called? A handlebar mustache?
Yes, handlebar mustache. With a tidy goatee, very like I don't know. I guess I'm too inspired.
Very
by
Colonel Sanders.
Very Colonel Sanders. Yes.
What was their name again? I'm sorry.
Maverick Belmont.
Maverick Belmont.
Look.
This is the most awesome NPC already. Sorry, go ahead.
See, now I wish I could do a really good, awful Southern accent.
I have a need.
He says, hold on. We've got a bit of a situation here. Need you folks to step back. The house is closed for a little while.
Sir, if you wouldn't mind, I think that we would like to proceed inside to use the facilities and perhaps ensure nothing untoward happens.
Well, I guess bodies do what they must do.
It is
They do indeed.
really important.
Okay.
And she's like,
Fine. Straight through, past the stairway. Look on your left.
thank you, sir, so much.
All right. So, people in chat are obsessing about this food.
Yes.
I also want some potato salad.
Yes. Well,
So you step into this house, and it is over the top. It is gleaming wooden floors, immaculate rugs, chandeliers. Like, this is as if it were built 5 years ago, not 300 years ago, right? So it's big, but also like tight and kind of with nooks in the way that kind of southern houses are, where there's places under stairs and small doorways, and everything's just, you know, kind of that homebrew house thing, but also lots of money in this house. And
immediately hates it and judges all this.
yes.
There are, you know, painted portraits up the side of the stairs, of people who look entirely too much like Maverick, taking the same pose, just maybe different color backgrounds. It's very, I don't know, heritagey, right?
My immediate reaction as we step in, I'm just like, I wonder if there's a Minotaur in here somewhere. Go ahead.
I feel like Stacy's a local. She's lived, probably gonna die here. She has always wanted to be in this house. Like, she's one of those people that tries to look into people's houses during Halloween.
Excellent.
Right? Like
yes.
So she's just
definitely this is definitely one of those houses that is the defining characteristic of this county, right? Aside from the university. Okay, so you know where the restroom is. You also see a group of people off to your right, standing around outside of another door, like not the outside, but some sort of inner door to an inner room.
Can we hear anything coming from the room?
Yeah, there's, you hear one of the people standing there says, well, what are we going to do with this? Like, she's well known. We can't just dispose. I mean, do we call the cops? Like, God.
Sort of look over at Anne significantly.
Yeah, Anne is like immediately like, I think hearing that would just immediately go on over there and just say, excuse me, what exactly is happening here?
All of them jump about a foot in the air. They're like, hey, hi, ma'am, miss, ma'am, could you go back outside? This isn't really part of the party.
You didn't answer my question.
Well, it's a small medical incident, but we have it under control.
I'm going to step forward upon hearing the magic words, medical incident, and I sort of.
There's a doctor in the house.
Say, if you folks got a medical incident, as it happens, I'm a doctor.
Oh, well, not that sort of medical incident. This is everything's fine. We're gonna, call one of our. Everything's fine. We'll take care of her.
There's a type of medical incident in this house that does not require a doctor. That is fascinating.
Well,
am I getting the same sort of like overly like pacifying BS sort of thing? Like, they seem like a second ago they were saying dispose and call the cops.
Yep.
So
and they're trying to push out enough that they can close the door behind them.
Okay. I would like to try to push through to see through the door if I can.
All right.
I am extra strong.
You are.
Meanwhile, I think Stacy doesn't really have a purse. She's kind of got like a big messenger bag full of like papers and stuff, and out of it you just see her pull like a napkin and a biscuit, and she's like just watching, because clearly she's hoarded some snacks from the picnic table. I'm real hungry.
Excellent. All right. So you kind of push. There's some jostling going on, right? And before they manage to close the door, what you see in the this is a restroom. What you see is yes, biscuits. What you see is a body laying on the floor, but it is completely desiccated, as if every ounce of moisture has been leached out of the body. So as a body laying on the kind of collapsed around the toilet, you see hair and just like clothes draped over it, a dress, and then just bones.
Bones.
And then just bones and like skin.
Oh, so just like
almost like a
shriveled.
mummy, but shriveled
Okay,
completely.
Yeah, okay, but not like bare skeleton bones.
Correct.
Can we?
Yeah.
Since Stacy's been around the university quite a lot, obviously, does she recognize this person or have a good feeling based on their hair or maybe what they're wearing? She saw them earlier.
Not quite yet, since everyone's in their super fancy Sunday clothes. So now is a time to start a conflict.
Okay.
So, conflict does work in rounds. So I'll have a randomized list of the three of you and then my various adversaries. But initially, we figure out what a good goal is and what the consequences will be if you fail. So I have a couple of goals to sort of offer up for shuffling around. One of them is find what's killing people and stop it.
That sounds good.
That's pretty reasonable, yeah.
Another is expose what this research project is to the public, which doesn't necessarily stop the killing, but we can all be reasonable and recognize.
Quick rules question. Do we each then pick a different goal?
No.
No, but it's a group goal.
For this purposes, yeah. I think if this were more complex, we could do kind of a division sort of thing.
I think,
or anything else. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Anne would be very much primarily concerned with stopping the killing and less so with exposing the research as long as the killing stopped. Like, it's one thing to say, try to get the parties responsible to pay for it if possible, but first and foremost is protecting people who are in danger.
Okay.
Yeah. That too is probably a priority for Adrian. Just simply the whole do no harm thing kind of kicks in there.
But I think Stacy is more interested. She's really big on the forefront of this like ethics idea in research and why we should care about research ethics, and so she is suspicious that this is not clearly an ethical process. So she's really interested in the research and getting them called out on it, maybe more so than the murdery part, because that's a little scary.
So, are we supposed to pick one as a group, or?
I would say I would like for you to craft one as a group. So it doesn't have to be one of these two. It can be something else. It can be a mixture of these.
Because I think, as a compound goal, and it's like, A, stop the killing, and B, bring whoever's responsible to justice, whatever that
means.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Stacy's idea of justice includes not only kind of criminal proceedings, but also kind of getting the research thrown out and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking Anne's idea of justice doesn't even necessarily mean call the police and have them arrested. It means stopped and in a karmic justice sort of way. Not necessarily like automatically like take the law into our own hands sort of thing, unless necessary. But that's not off the table.
vigilante.
Little bit of vigilante justice going on.
I'm thinking, it would be good to for Adrian. It would probably be good to stop the find out what's going on. Stop stop the deaths, and also in his embarrassing a way for the people that he used to work for as possible.
Excellent.
So the goal is stop the killings, bring the killers to justice. Justice being loosely defined.
Bring the killers or bring the people responsible?
Responsible. The people
Okay.
responsible
Yes.
to justice, which is defined by each of our characters is slightly different.
Who's to
Yeah.
blame?
That is
And
fine.
find
Who's to
that
blame?
person. Yeah.
Whoever is at the heart of the issue.
Okay. Before we discuss consequences, something I don't think I said on stream for people watching is some of the things that you all know about this research project. I think I said that before we started. So this research project is looking into a drug that it's testing a drug on various subjects. It's unclear to these people in this group what this drug is or what it's doing. But you know that the subjects involved in this research tend to be poor people in the area. So that tends to be people of color. It tends to be single mothers. It tends to be veterans. Just sort of people who are down in their luck who need some money. And this research project has helped fund that. So these people are not necessarily doing the most ethical research.
The vulnerable are, taken advantage of in these sorts of situations.
So, well, let's figure out consequence and then we'll take a break maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So consequences are the bad thing that happens if you do not succeed. And by succeed in this case, that is fill all the stress boxes of the adversary. So win the conflict. So what happens, and it can't just be not getting the goal.
Right.
Because that's not interesting.
Right. So the killings continuing is just not stopping the killings. So
Exactly.
we need further. Okay. Well, I would say, assuming that, Anne herself is not killed, I would think that the circumstances surrounding her retirement were kind of kept quiet. So she was able to keep her pension and go relatively, quietly. But perhaps that would come out and be made a thing.
Excellent. Okay. What about the other two of you?
Well, I can imagine that in a scenario where we were basically investigating these people who are Stacy's boss, or closely linked to them, very powerful people in the academic, she would probably end up kind of being disgraced and losing her job.
All right.
Now, part of me is just saying, well, heck, it's a one shot. Let's put me ending up in a body bag on the table.
I mean, that seems like a likely possibility for the whole bunch of us at this point.
Yeah. I'll add to Anne's that part of the whole reason for the scandal potentially having been hushed up and not wanting it to come out is not just the personal consequences, but the possibility that previous cases that she worked on, could those perpetrators could potentially be released on the basis of discrediting Anne's capabilities or actions.
So if they appeal their cases or whatever, it becomes, well, the cop involved.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So consequences include 2 disgraced people and a dead person?
Potentially, yes. Either dead literally or metaphorically, if it ends up being something where maybe I end up having to, because there's something far worse that I'm trying to prevent, I end up having to help them. Maybe something like that, like on a regular basis.
Excellent. All right, and
blackmail. That would be fun.
Could be, or threatening to hurt, or it's like, no, this could be far worse. Let's contain it here. You know, however that works.
And the way this would generally work in Rosette as a system, if this were going to continue beyond being a one-shot, is that you would take what are called setbacks. So you have resources, which are things that help, and then there are setbacks, which give other people opportunities to do additional damage or to attack you better, whatever. So these would be the sorts of things that would become setbacks. So your disgrace could be used against you later. Death, whatever. That gets complicated, but
death is a bit of a setback. I agree.
Yeah.
A major setback, I think.
This is a Southern Gothic horror story. You could come back.
Yeah.
Death is not permanent.
I'm thinking.
So we don't have to kind of go into the mechanics of that for this, but
The dead will rise again.
I mean, we've got vampires, we got zombies, we got a whole bunch of things we could be picking from.
A
Very true.
smorgasbord, if you will.
All right.
Shall we go to break?
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break, like 5-10 minutes maybe, and then we shall be back with the rest of this scenario. See you momentarily. We have returned. Hello.
All right. So, let's talk a tiny bit about how conflict works. It goes in rounds, so not unlike any other sort of combat-ish system. So I have your names and the adversary and various other folks on cards that I have shuffled to determine initiative order. So we'll go person to person, and you want to sort of describe what you're doing, talk about like what your character's doing to either investigate or to get at the bottom of this situation. And what we will turn that into an attack of some sort. And that attack can be mind-based, charm-based, or body-based. You can, when you make an attack, you're going to use the stat number of one of those three. And you can choose, there are sort of two ways you can approach it. One of them is to say, I'm coming in hot. I'm going to boost this with my skill. And even if I miss, the thing I'm attacking is going to take some wear. It's going to be worn down. Its defense is going to be worn down a little bit. Or you can say, let me go in just by the base number, and then whether it lands or doesn't land, I will determine whether to boost later. So the first one is called a bold attack. It's pretty easy. The second one is called a sure attack. If you go in chill and boost later, if you do the sure attack, it won't cause wear on the other person's defense. So if you do a bold attack and my defense of wits is a 5, and I block it successfully, my wits comes down to 4 until it's hit. So that gives everyone kind of a continual advantage, and every time you do that, it comes down. So it's accumulative. And this is the same on you. So if I do a boosted attack, your defense comes down one by one, and I'll remind you of this. You can boost with ties, skills, quirks. So everything along the left side above edges, you can boost with. Some of your traits say always boosted. Some of your traits might also say blocks edges. So that's also relevant. When you make an attack, you can add an edge. And these are things at the bottom. You also have a reference sheet in Roll20 that kind of gives a little more detail about those. Some of them only apply to body attacks, mind attacks, or charm attacks. You'll see it as a letter. And these are situational. So if you have, if you've set up a situation or narrate setting up a situation, then we can say you've done, field work or prior research, things like that. And those give an extra point of stress when you attack. So the adversary, total have 6 stress boxes. And among the 3 of you, you have 9, right? And I can split mine off and do all sorts of shenanigans to have multiple sort of things involved. But primarily, you're trying to get through these 6. Second important part, whatever number we're on, is afflictions. So an affliction is a temporary condition that you can take to reduce the amount of stress you take. So if I attack and succeed, and I'm doing 1 point of stress, so I don't have an edge, then you can, instead of marking the stress box, you can choose to take an affliction. And an affliction can be anything from bleeding to spooked to jittery. It can be any sort of like situational thing that happens to you as a person. And you would take 1 fewer stress than was given. So an attack with an edge can be 1 affliction, 1 point of stress. So that essentially gives you all 6 each of sort of boxes I can attack, right? I can also take afflictions on certain of my creatures that I'm attacking you with. And it's to like keep me from having like a million boxes, but I can take an affliction to reduce the amount of stress. We can target each other's afflictions. When you target an affliction, you don't have to spend anything from your sheet. it just automatically hits. And if you have added an edge, it will do additional damage. So once people start racking up afflictions, it's a good way to target and just like really whittle them down. I recommend taking afflictions. I recommend always using edges. Find a way, right? Like work the situation. Some of you have edges written down that are not the basic ones with B, C, or M beside them. Useful trait means that you can, if any of your traits are relevant, even if they don't give an edge, then you can use it once. One trait for the conflict. So if you have extra knowledgeable, that's a bad one. That gives an edge. If you have acute sense and it is for smell, and you want to, you think it's relevant to the situation, to the particular attack you're making, you can get an edge from that, and that crosses off useful trait. And then some of you have other ones specifically written, either related to resources or traits that already provide them. Edges, resources. Some of you have resources that I did not decide whether they were weapons or whether they were evidence or whether they were scanners. I'm looking particularly at the portable analysis kit, the medicals kit. If you want to, however you want to use that, we'll make it work in the situation. Just flexible. Okay, so let's get rolling. I think, okay. Woo! So you are standing outside of a tiny half bath. Door is closed. There are a couple people right in front of the door. There's a desiccated corpse inside, still wearing summer's best or Sunday best for the party. And so it's like 2 or 3 real uncomfortable people right in front of you.
Question about that. I mean, maybe you were going to, I don't want to interrupt because you might have been about to explain this, but so we were particularly following in this one guy, Dr. Nevin?
Dr. Nevin, yes.
Yeah, and so is he among the people we see here?
Nope.
Okay, and was it one particular guy who seemed to be in charge and trying to get us to go away, or is it like the group had a consensus about that?
Yeah, there's one dude who looks older, who you all are, yes, particularly Stacy, probably also Anne recognizes. Dylan Van Horn is the owner of a former plantation in the next county over. So this is sort of Belmont's equivalent in sort of social stature. Standing outside this door, older man, definitely older than Maverick, and clearly used to taking charge. You know that he's an agriculturalist, so he still runs the land as a farm, and has some sort of fancy corporation sitting on top of that.
All right.
So let's start with Adrian.
Yes.
So that's the scene.
Let me see. Okay, so which thing do I want to use here? I think the first thing I'm going to do is, given the glimpse that we have, I think, let's see, desiccated corpse. I'm trying to see if I can just sort of figure out. There may not be enough time for this. I'm trying to sort of see if I can figure out what the.
I should talk about time a little bit.
Yes.
While you think. Conflicts, they don't run like D&D, like you have 6 seconds, everybody's on a clock. It's much more flexible. So here in the setting being a party, like there's not going to be like, oh, you can't make it all the way upstairs before your turn's over. Like, no, we're just like doing stuff. So some of you might only need 10, 15 seconds for what you're doing. Some of you, will kind of step off and do research or whatever. So
All
go ahead.
Actually, I have changed what I'm going to say.
All right. Excellent.
So I think what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to make a. This is well, here, let me present it first, and then I'll tell you what I'm doing. I just sort of seeing, the base information that I have. It's a desiccated corpse. It would have to have, in order to get that way. There's a lot that has to happen. So I think what I'm going to do is the person that's kind of I realize it's sort of a cluster of people sort of keeping us out. So the first thing I'm going to do, which of course puts me in immediate danger probably, is I'm going to try to just based on the little glimpse I have, just say to quietly to whoever is sort of in the lead. I guess it was I guess it was
Van Horn.
Was Van Horn who was kind of okay more than anything else. Yeah. Just sort of say now. Now that's there's a lot that I don't know, but one thing I do know is that for a body to get that way requires generally a great deal of time. Now, if you are looking for a way to generally, as decomposition is a fascinating thing. It usually obviously doesn't work that fast, but the cells have to, and actually I'm going to go into, insert medical speak here about decaying corpses. And just sort of present that, and at the end of it, sort of say, I think it would probably behoove you, should you be at all curious about this kind of thing, to have someone who knows about this sort of thing take a look at it. And perhaps it might be rather helpful to keep to keep away certain problems that you might be otherwise encountering soon, if you understand my meaning. So I don't know if that, I don't have it right in front of me. I don't know if that's sufficient to use the credible threat edge or not. But
credible threat.
Because I'm just sort of hinting at.
I mean, because the description says when the target has seen you commit an act of violence.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But I don't know how flexible that is.
Yeah.
I don't know that you, unless there's something more secretive that you have a connection with Van Horn.
Well, I could just add the basically just add the line in there. Of course, I wouldn't want to imagine anything untoward is going on, because then whoever might be responsible for that would be in deep trouble indeed, and I'd perhaps flip to J'accuse with that.
Yeah, because trying to keep us away from someone who's obviously dead, that's
yeah.
And so this is I feel like this is a mild sort of thing where I'm just sort of probing a little bit. I'm not actually going to trying to hit it with a mallet just yet. So I want to do a sure attack with charm. So that's just coming in at a 2, but it is with an edge.
That does not land.
Okay.
Their wits is a little higher than that.
Okay. And so it's okay. So this would be a versus wits rather than nerve, then specifically.
You are right. Definitely does not land on nerve.
Okay.
Do I share the? No, I don't. Okay. So yes, does not land.
Okay. Trying to decide if it would be worth trying to boost that. And so if I do, then shall we burn something this early? Yes, it's the first thing. Why not? I think as part of, as I see it just sort of not landing completely, I will say, now understand, of course, that as as a medical doctor and someone who was formerly associated with the university, you do understand that my what is there's a word and I've lost it. English, it's gone. My confidentiality can be, of course, totally assured, and I'm going to try to slip in bedside manner to boost, if I may, if that'll work in that fashion.
All right. Yep. And bedside manner, that makes it a 4?
That makes it a 4, yes. So 4
All
with
right.
an edge.
Save the edge, actually.
Okay.
Not needed. And Van Horn says, "All right, you all three of you know that you must keep this silent, but you must promise to help us make it stop. You want to see the body?"
Are we responding to this now, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Anne was half a second away from just shoving her way right through the door. So the fact that he is letting us in, I think she's pretty stoic, but of like, sort of an attitude of like, yeah, you're going to let us in.
And I just say, certainly.
Try not to muddy the waters. And he opens the bathroom door. So there is a corpse. Like I said, sort of half on the toilet. It's not the most dignified death.
Yes, sir, this patient is definitely dead.
Not moving, yes.
Yeah.
Wearing a yellow suit and like pumps, heels. There's a purse on the counter, and you can tell they were blonde, I think. Yeah, blonde.
So I have a trait that is always cautious. Do I get any sense of any immediate danger in the bathroom?
Not immediate. Yeah, there's no monster hiding in the corner. The sink doesn't have an under, like it's one of those like porcelain, like almost standalone.
The pipe
type
is
thing.
exposed, no cabinet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's no real hint of any danger here. So yeah, you have this is like the X-Files and never go in the bathroom.
Right.
So yeah, you now have access to the corpse. You can tell that if you do much with it, it's just gonna like collapse in on itself. There's not a ton of it's brittle. So
are we still in turn order, or
we are?
Okay.
And next up is my adversary. Okay, so what do I want to do with this? It's the hardest part is to figure out. Okay, so Mrs. Belmont comes, you hear the clack of heels up to the door, and Mrs. Belmont pokes her head in and says, "We're ending the party. We have to end the party. This is not tenable. I can't have this sort of thing. People can't think that guests come to my house and die. So I'm going to have to ask all of you to leave, like now, and leave this. We'll figure out how to take care of it. So this is Lady Belmont is not the corpse. So this is going to be an attack on each of you individually, as an attack against your nerve. And it's gonna it is it's boosted, so it's going to be a 4 against your nerve.
Okay.
So the target number is your nerve. So if your nerve is 4, it hits.
Okay.
You can boost your defense by taking one of the 2 stats involved, which is adjacent on your character sheet, and adding that number back into the defense.
Okay.
We'll start with Jim. Does it land? Do you defend?
So I'm going to need to boost. And so as she is saying that, go ahead.
Need an edge. My bad. I don't... How do I not have a good edge for this?
Sort of a obligation is we're guests at this lady's house.
Maybe. Actually, I think I'm going to use useful trait. Because the adversary has a trait for unnerving people. So that is a 4 with an edge.
All right.
So, sorry, Jim, carry on.
No problem. It was just this gives me a moment to double check this, but I'll go ahead and ask on camera here because that's probably good for folks to know. When you are being attacked, what can you boost your defense with?
You can boost your defense also with ties, skills, and quirks. And you may have traits that either allow you to boost your defense once per session or block edges on that particular defense. So
Stacy has a 4 in that particular thing, but since this person is it's like she's trying to intimidate us basically into leaving.
Yep.
Could since Stacy and Anne go way back, and Anne has kind of rescued Stacy in the past, can that be like she has a boost in that she feels safer and tougher with Anne there?
Yeah, like you feel protected.
Yeah, like Anne has been my protector in the past and has...
Well, that kind of works because I was going to also boost I have a trait called authority. You're in a position of authority as a former cop. You're always boosted on social challenges to exert that authority. Does that work?
Unfortunately, you can't use things that are always boosted on defenses, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, then I also have a quirk of already tired of your BS.
Yes.
So I think that given how many people have tried to suggest that there's nothing wrong with what's happening here at this party, and it's just like, are you kidding me?
Like, what are you? What you've already got a copy.
Bathroom and you're ending the party.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I think Anne is immediately going to be on the case of like, no, nobody's leaving until we know what happened here.
And as she says that, I imagine Stacy kind of steps up next to her and is like, "Yeah." What she said.
I feel kind of I feel as though I'm gonna have to feel a little weird burning all of my social stuff at the beginning, but why not? Who wants to negotiate with a zombie anyway, or whatever this ends up being? So I think what as a reaction to this, I'm just going to say, and I'm sorry. What is? I'm lost. Who is this?
Mrs. Belmont.
Mrs. Belmont. Okay. Mrs. Belmont. I understand how frightening something like this happening at such an event can be, and I know that that you want to get control of the situation. I totally understand that.
It's my house.
Well, of course, it absolutely is. Understand also that, as it happens, by having casting as wide a net as you did with your invitation, you happen to have netted some folks who are rather expert at dealing with certain matters and keeping them discreet. Now, it's as stated, I'm a doctor, and I do very much understand how things like these can happen, and I think we're actually going to be able to help you here to make sure that this situation is dealt with. And I want to burn empathy to boost.
All right.
And so that'll bring me up to 5 by forking in charm, or bringing in charm. Forking is not a term. That's just a term I use that I picked up from another game.
Good term.
But that boosts my nerve to 5.
All right.
So for me, if I'm using my quirk, already tired of your BS, that would let me add body in, so I would get 6. Is that how that works? All right.
And with mine, that brings me up to 8. So.
Yep.
Is it doubled, or is it you're adding the?
Oh, you're adding a number back in.
Yeah,
So-
I have so it's one of the ones adjacent, right? So it'd be adding in body or charm.
Yep.
So I'm adding in body, which is 4, so that brings me up to 8.
Okay.
That's not what's on the.
Oh, yes, I see body of 3 on the.
On mine?
Yeah.
Oh, 3. So it's 7.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's,
Okay.
still, that works.
I was just trying to make sure I understood what was happening.
I just
All right.
looked too fast.
So Mrs. Belmont says, this really, my house, this, do you understand the social pressures to run this? I am a staple of this community. My house, hello puppy, is a staple of my.
You look serious.
Very serious, and that super cute dog. I think Anna at this point is just saying, Miss Belmont, you have a dead girl in there. That's about as serious as it gets, and I think that your social anxieties have to be secondary to the fact that there is a dead girl in your bathroom.
Look,
And I think Stacey's like, to paraphrase, what we're saying is we get it. We just don't care.
fine. Keep this quiet. Make sure the deaths aren't happening in my house anymore. Don't raise a fuss. She turns and leaves.
Deaths, plural?
Yes.
And she's heading out.
She looks over her shoulder and says, just make it not happen here. Next up is Anne.
Okay, so did she leave?
She left, or is leaving. If you want
Okay.
to stop her.
Well, I guess you know what? I think I'm shifting into detective mode here. So I would like to take a look at the body and see if I can get a sense of what did this to her, or if any clues I can gather about what happened.
Excellent. Okay.
I do have deductive mind.
You
Once
do.
per session, examine the subject of a mystery and receive a clue.
Excellent. And this doesn't even count as an attack. So, okay. So yeah, you look at this body, and so it is sitting on the toilet, but there's no water in the bowl.
That's weird. So
Opaque clue.
yeah. Well, I just like, it seems like something has sucked up all the water, not just from her, but also perhaps from the toilet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you tell us this, or
Yeah, I think I would just kind of point out whatever, the toilet bowl's empty too.
reach over
I
and
think
open
I
the
would've-
tank?
Naturally checked it because people flush stuff,
Is the-
when they're trying to get rid of evidence. But for having it be dry is like something funny there.
It's like is the tank empty as well? And yeah,
Oh,
Okay.
the pipes.
So is
and
that
joints
is
go
that my turn if that wasn't an attack, or is it?
you still have an attack.
Oh, okay. Well, then I think I'm going to stomp back out to Van Horn and say, "What do you know about this?" And just like,
I appreciate.
and I have questioning as a skill.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I do have the authority, or I guess I don't need both, right?
You don't need both. So if
Okay.
you use authority, the number is boosted, but you won't reduce their defense.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, I'll use the questioning skill then.
okay.
And is this a charm attack?
Yep. That would be.
Okay, well, my charm is pretty low, but I'll go ahead and boost it anyway. And I don't know, Jacques seems appropriate.
Did you? You haven't had a turn yet, right? So you haven't
No.
used any of your edges. Okay. Yes. Jacques is a good edge.
Yeah,
So that is a. What's the total number? That's a 2.
it's still just 2. Yeah.
Okay. So she.
Is this? I was thinking Van Horn, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Um,
He seemed to know too, like he was the one initially trying to keep us out.
Van Horn says, Van Horn, let's see. That's a nerve of 3. Okay, so that does not land, but you caused wear.
Okay.
So his nerve came down by 1. And so what was your original question?
I was just like, what do you know about this? But in an accusing way, like finger in his face.
All right. He says, I don't even live here. This is not my home. I'm merely a funder of this research project. I think that I'm probably not the one with any sort of details about this, except that, I guess it's not my problem as long as it's not happening at my house and as long as the research continues. So if you'll excuse me, I have people to manage to keep the situation calm, you understand. We might need to call in real cops before this is over.
Well, see, that doesn't hurt Anne, because he's of the opinion that calling in the real cops is absolutely a thing that's happening here.
That's actually not a bad idea.
All right.
But so is he able to like leave and walk away, or like even?
I would say that unless you intend to detain him, then,
well, I'm thinking. I mean, despite not convincing him to stay, I'm absolutely still thinking he knows something he's not telling us, and I don't think Anne would just let him walk away.
okay. Then let's see. He will. He'll say, "I have calls to make," and he heads over, not far, but he's heading for a telephone that's in the hallway, and picks it up and starts dialing. So he's not going.
Okay. That I think is acceptable.
All right. Stacy.
So I think Stacy pulls first of all, she like rummages in her big bag, like her surprise, like oddly large bag, and pulls out like just a box of latex gloves and snap, and goes in, and in the bathroom you said her purse was there.
Yes.
So she wants to go in the purse to see if there's an ID to figure out who the heck this person is.
Yes. One note in chat. Thank you, Gregory. If you miss and are using an edge, you keep the edge. You don't
That was
extend
good
it.
because I had assumed otherwise.
That would be a very harsh system.
Yeah.
So the dead person is it is Leah Vipond, who I briefly mentioned earlier is the founder of a nascent genetics biomed company. So her ID is there. She's from the area. There's literally 4 pagers in her purse. This is a very, like, most of them have notification lights or whatever on them. She's got a lot of cash, and keys to a fancy car. It's not definitely nobody's Toyota. Would there be Toyotas in the U.S.? Yeah, it's probably imports.
Yeah.
So yes, it's her.
All right. I would. Does Anne see all of that, or?
Depends. Stacy, are you laying it all out?
Yeah, I imagine like she's very clinical about this. She's going to take one thing out, look at it, put it down, and like line them up on, I guess, like maybe the bathroom sink, the edge of the sink or something.
Yeah.
What was the victim's name again, or the one we found in the purse?
That is Leah Vipond, Vipond.
And so that wasn't.
That's not an attack. Yeah.
I think Anne would note the fact that there seem to be all these pagers still there, and the cash still present suggests this is personal.
Oh yeah, it's not like they robbed her or something.
Well,
So-
we don't even know technically, I guess, that someone did something to her other than, like, I mean, as opposed to like some sort of an accident or illness.
So we know that basically all the water from the room was taken away, pretty much, because it was the body and
Yeah.
the toilet.
I'm gonna stand up and turn on the sink real quick. I'm gonna turn on the water just to see if it comes
Sync
out.
run's fine.
Okay. So, and it doesn't shudder or anything, starting it just immediately. Okay. Turn
So
it back
is the
off.
toilet refilling then? If
No.
It's not.
So it's not the room; it's just like where she was at.
What is the toilet tank empty?
Yep.
So is there something, I guess, in it keeping it from refilling?
Not visibly.
Okay.
Someone would need to dig in and
Would that be like a turn thing?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I think Stacy's not really interested in like the socio-political things going on that side. So she's going to, I guess, investigate, I guess, the toilet, since the body seems like if you start touching it, it's going to fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm. You could
So-
probably get some samples or something, but
yeah, so she's going to try and like whip out a bunch of, from her obnoxiously large bag. She's got like little vials of different things. Is going to try and kind of investigate the toilet and the surrounding space,
Okay.
to see if she can learn about what happened, or I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So let's.
So would that be?
Sounds like a mind attack of some sort.
Okay. Would this? Is this something, I guess, where she could use extra knowledgeable, maybe?
Let's see. That's always boosted to recall information or know facts. So that doesn't quite fit. You could use
Observation or research skills or something.
Yeah, you could use observation as to boost, and then if you wanted an edge, that could come from your portable analysis kit, and that
So
would.
if I'm using like a resource as an edge, is that a one and done?
That is a 1 per conflict, yes, but
One
you
per
don't.
conflict.
Yep.
Okay.
You can also sacrifice resources, which I didn't mention. But if you, it's very appropriate for a one shot. If you sacrifice a resource, which means you like use it in a way that breaks it or consumes it or whatever, you automatically boost the challenge. You gain an edge, and the edge applies even if it wouldn't necessarily for the attack. So it's like going all in, break the thing, and that
The nuclear option.
the nuclear option. Yep.
Okay, so she's going to use. We're going to use the portable analysis kit that seemingly comes out of her Mary Poppins-esque bag.
Mhm. Okay.
And so that is a boost then, right? Is that what you said? So that allows me to add in an adjacent skill point.
That lets you
Correct.
double the attribute.
Double.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, on an attack, it's doubled.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's 4.
All right. So that lands. So yeah, you pull samples. You set up whatever in the hell a portable analysis kit looks like. I don't know. I just made some shit
I'm
up.
thinking it's like a lot of I just keep pulling stuff out of this bag,
A little test tube
test
rack
tubes and like a little scale and like weights and some kind of like
kinds of
droppers filled
balls.
with like iodine or something.
I'm just watching all this. I'm like,
propane hot plate.
Like it takes up a good chunk of like the floor of the bathroom.
oh, good. You got a Tesla coil in there by any chance? Because that would look real nice here too.
And she's just like sitting in the middle of it with this like her skirt all awry and like just like
Nice. All right. So that does. Let me make sure I've got that. So that is stress with an ed or stress, and I'm going to take an affliction of detected. So what you see, so you've got a mixture of sort of chips of substances and bits of plastic and toilet from the toilet tank or whatever.
Swabs.
Rubber, yeah, swabs. Oh. Anyway, so in addition to quite a lot of biology, because it is a toilet, that is easily identifiable, right? Like you can suss out what's body waste.
She takes the first swab, realizes what she's doing, and pulls out like a face mask too.
And what you find, and this is just a mixture of just a tiny bit of moisture left behind and so on and so forth, is you detect that there are some sort of medicine, some sort of chemical that is not normal to standard water supplies. So it's not fluoride. I don't know. I think fluoride happened in the 60s. Let's say it did. So it's not fluoride. It's not chlorine. It's not the sort of things that go in drinking water, especially since this is a well probably here. but there's definitely some sort of artificial, complex chemical molecule in this that was in this toilet.
Is the drop? This is going to be a crass question. Is the like remaining liquid that this is in? Is it like human urine? So like, did it come out of the body, or was it like in water in the toilet?
Probably in water.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not like she took something and peed it out.
Right.
Got it. Hey, this is an important question.
That is fair. Okay, so this so the thing that you targeted was not the overall mystery, but was an expert, so kind of an offshoot that is the killer. And so it is now detected. So if you want to target that to deal additional stress, wait a minute. I just think I just remembered something. There are rules that we changed right before publication that I think means I cannot take an affliction as this critter. Okay, that is correct.
Is the killer, or something made the chemical? Okay.
So instead of taking an affliction, it took 2 stress because it cannot take afflictions.
But so now Stacy can can reasonably suspect that possibly this drug that they've been working on had something to do with this death.
Yes. And you can, let's say you can roughly figure out enough of its structure to be able to sort of talk to another chemist or another sort of professional, probably on this research project especially, who you can say, hey, this looks weird. Is this something you know about, right? Like you have enough information to kind of be able to describe a little bit about it to...
But not enough to know what it is. Just enough to be these are some characteristics of this structure or whatever.
Exactly. Yep.
I think Stacy is going to... She would like to kind of share this information with the group. Say, I don't know if maybe since Anne kind of was off intimidating this other person, maybe the doc is still in the room watching in fascinated horror as she's doing this. Absolutely. And she says, like, I think that drug, whatever it is that they're working on, had something to do with this. Like I'm finding some chemical that's not supposed to be here. It's not normal. I don't know what it is, but this has to have something to do with this research project and whatever it is that they're making in that lab.
That kind of thing would manage to accelerate dehydration that much. As I presume, do you think that might be what happened? That it's
hard to say. I mean, I found it in the toilet, not on her, but
so she might have expelled it, and that might have been what drained the toilet water as well.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Huh.
I don't think it was in her body. I think it was, I don't know.
Maybe it was in the toilet water and it came up and hit her?
Maybe. If I could talk to somebody on the research project, I think I know enough that I could nail them for it. Maybe I could get some more information out of them.
All right.
Just as a point of clarification, my previous question about the toilet tank, was that included in the investigation that Stacy just did, or no?
In terms of...
Well, I guess what I was saying is that the way the toilet works is that if the plumbing is intact and nothing's keeping it, the natural design of the toilet would refill the tank. And so if it's still empty, but the water supply is okay, why wouldn't it refill? And that question, I guess, was...
Yeah, so as you were taking samples and so on, yes. So you didn't see anything. So if you like pull up the whatever that bobble thing is called in the tank,
the ball cock.
Whatever.
I'm an apartment dweller. I don't know how to
call it the float.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you kind of like look in there to see if there's any kind of samples to get, it seems dry down the pipe from what you can tell from the tank. So if there's a blockage, it's further along, or
does the pipes seem to be open? There's go down to that little. Usually it's a sort of oval shaped faucet down near the base of the toilet. If this one has that, which presumably it should, does
it's open.
Okay, so there should be water coming in.
Yep. All right, so it is the killer's turn. Who is standing nearest to the toilet?
Probably me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think Anne is still kind of out watching Van Horn talk on the phone.
Okay. As you're like near the toilet, you're looking in this toilet, you've gotten your samples, you're, just kind of poking around. You hear a burble.
Burbles.
And water floods back into this toilet. It is not at the rate at which a toilet should refill. This is as if there was an active pump pumping water in. Water, you mean the top is off the tank, right? So water comes out. You don't know. You don't know what's in this water, right? But it douses you. And this is going to be an attack on your... I'm trying to decide between vigor and nerve. I think I'm going to go vigor. This is going to be boosted with medicine. So this is an attack on your nerve. It is an 8.
Ooh.
I got nothing for that, yo.
Yeah, so if your nerve is, or your vigor is 4, so yeah, the highest you could raise it is a 7.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no hope. So can I take an affliction then?
You can. I don't have an edge for that, so yes, you can. That's fair. Yeah. So like I said, affliction can be anything. Some sort of status.
I imagine like this is gonna be kind of like well water. I imagine it's cold and wet and gross, and I'm covered in it. So, I don't know. I want to say like she's now like cold and wet and miserable. But I
Feeling like you're gonna throw up.
Yeah, like she's
Gagging.
upset and cold and soaked,
Yeah.
and there's no way to get dry because it's the 70s. It's not like they got a dryer in the house. And
All they have are radiators you can sit on.
Yeah.
People had dryers in this.
But does this place have
But
dryers?
would it be in the like Southern plantation home? I don't think so.
They've got help for that.
Yeah, I imagine they probably hang their clothes to dry outside.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you have an affliction of cold, wet, and miserable?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And we are back at the top, and it is Adrian's turn. So at this point, we set the scene. You've got a corpse that has sort of, at this point, been moved off of the toilet. You have a toilet, like, poltergeisting water, right? And your lab equipment is getting wet, but it's portable, so it's got to be some sort of rugged, weather resistant. It's gross. You don't know, like the water is not obviously soiled, right? Like it's not like poop water coming out.
Yeah.
But so Van Horn is outside on the phone. There's staff in the house that have been helping manage the party. There are plenty of other rooms in the house. And yes, I think that describes the scene.
I think at this point, just sort of pulling, just trying to help pull back a little bit and make sure Stacy's all right first. So I'm just sort of like, as she's got this going on, and just sort of pulling back. You okay?
And you just see her like nostrils flare, like. I think I'm fine, but I'm wet.
How does your skin feel where it made contact with you?
Do I feel differently because I'm wet in this particular water?
Nope.
I'm just wet. And I'm like, she's like, I feel fine. I mean, relatively speaking, I don't think that at minimum there wasn't enough of that drug in the tank to dry me out, clearly.
Yeah. Well, at least you've got more of a sample to work with, I suppose, if you want.
Look at you, Mr. Brightside.
Well, there's hopefully one somewhere. Let me see.
As you two are chatting, the water stops spewing and is merely a little, like, too full, like it's settling itself out, but there's no longer the pressure coming out.
I'm gonna...
Sorry, how did Van Horn and anyone else standing around, did they react to that?
Van Horn didn't see it.
Okay.
But definitely Van Horn glanced over at the commotion, but is intent on the phone.
Okay.
The thing I would like to do is I want to follow the pipes, presumably to the basement, to see if there's something coming from there that would have caused this to happen. And I'm not sure if that merits an attack or not.
Well, let's see. So, you come out of the bathroom. You're not far from the kitchen, which is a logical place for there to be a basement entrance. Mm-hmm. There's the kitchen is kind of busy. There's several folks kind of prepping food and sort of cleaning up and
fresh batch of biscuits coming out of the oven.
Fresh batch of biscuits, squeezing
Snack
lemon.
one on your way. Yeah.
Yes. Simply Lemonade did not exist in the 70s, I'm pretty sure. And you see there's a door open to a pantry that they're going in and out of. But there's also a door that doesn't quite match the immaculateness of the rest of this house. It's just a little faded, as if the paint has just worn a little bit. Like the door is older than everything else that's been refurbished. There's also a door that kind of goes out towards a backyard, again, external facing.
Okay. So presumably, I'm thinking that that door that you just described might lead down.
Sure.
So if it doesn't look like they're going to get annoyed by this, I do actually have, if it comes down to it, I do have an inconspicuous trait I could end up using if I need to. But what I want to do is sort of slip in and try to open the door and look down.
All right. You look down and steep stairs, like basements, right?
Creepy.
So super creepy, super dark. Steep wooden stairs that are at least the few that you can see look a little rickety. There's a light switch just on the inside.
Before I go down, I'm going to very quickly nip back.
I'm going to write my will.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to nip back to Stacy because I'm not going to make the mistake of wandering off without telling anyone. And just sort of gesture to her kit. You got a flashlight in there?
Well,
Probably got it.
I don't think she would have like a flashlight, but I have a skill that allows me to require a rare item.
Oh God. Okay.
Well, if that's only a once per session thing, though, don't waste it on this. I know.
Okay, how much longer are you expecting this to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
So this is going to be a rare. If it's a rare resource.
Before I decide if I'm using, how does that work?
So essentially, this would be like we would want to role play it a bit, but it's because you know somebody or you've got connections like Benjamin or Amelia, rather, would actually be better.
Yeah.
You can get stuff. So if you're like. If it's going to be a rare resource, it's going to have to be like a cool ass flashlight.
Okay.
So it could be something that toggles between being a black light and a
night vision goggles and
we can roll with that. But like a rare resource is very big. Like it's
so I won't use that right now. And she's just going to say no. I don't think that would be something that would be in her kit.
I'm gonna head down to the basement and take a look around.
Okay.
And I tell her that, and then I then do.
She waves.
Okay.
She's packing up her kit. She's soaking wet. She's like, yeah.
All right. So, turning on the light.
Yeah.
As you go down. Okay. So, you turn on the light, and it's like hanging light bulb. Like it's the most basement. Yeah. Why is it swinging? I don't know.
I have a medical kit. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
Stacy has a biohazard suit.
Yeah.
In her Mary Poppins bag.
So you go downstairs. The stairs are wobbly but not broken. They feel like they're gonna just like crumble underneath you though. Like this is, as you're going downstairs, it's as if things are getting older and dirtier and danker, right? Like this is not good. And so down here, this isn't a finished basement, which you would think it would be, right? Like why else would you have this? But it's dirt floor. There's mice and plants and like this place is wet, kind of marshy. This is a weird basement. It just happens to be a place under the house, right? Rather than like some sort of place where you would, I don't know, use it. And there's not much down here in terms of like structural stuff. These aren't like, it's not set up like anyone's living room. So there's some boxes, there's some casks, there's some sinks and hoses, and then we can make up some shit. So
I'm looking around for the water heater and pipes and things of that nature.
Okay. So you find that decently easily. You have to kind of get through some stuff, some debris. Like I said, it's kind of wet. Like they're kind of sort of little puddles. You're not sure where that water's coming from. It's not like the walls are like seeping or anything. And they've got a couple of water heaters for a house this size. There are warning labels on them that are like don't tamper or don't adjust. There's like a warning right over the knob to adjust the temperature on it that's like do not touch. And it's there. So you've got a whole bunch of pipes coming up out of there.
Okay. So I'm going to take out of my my too large inside pocket. I'm going to take my portable, smaller portable medical kit, and I'm going to take out the little thing that doctors used back then and perhaps still do, to the little sort of almost pen light looking thing that they use to look in people's eyes and ears and stuff. And I'm going to just sort of look around this, these water heater and the pipes, and see if I just note anything weird. Shall I attack it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh no. I hit it with the light until it gives up what tells us what's happening. I'm going to make the water heater confess. So let's see. I think this is. I'm going to go with mind. And this is not a medical examination, I don't think. However, I at the very least would like to use the edge of. May I use an equipment edge for this?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. So go at it with that. I don't see anything I can immediately use to boost without involving other people, which I might do in a moment. So let's go ahead and let's do what I did before. I'll do a sure attack, and I'll see if I can figure out what's going on. And we'll start with a 3 and go from there.
Okay. A 3. I think, are you attacking the killer? Or are you attacking the... Okay. That does not land.
Okay. Let's see.
So...
Medical challenges. Okay, so what about... So here's a thought, perhaps stretching definitions, but we'll see if this works or not. I'm gonna also take out another little tool from the medical kit, and because I'm. Oh no! Wait, that's yeah. Tell me if we can make it work this way.
Okay.
This is me just now looking at first question number 1, which should be simple. Does it appear to be a functioning set of water heaters?
Yes.
Okay. So
they're not particularly activated at the moment, but they do some functional.
Okay.
They got pilot lights or whatever.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to using another tool, which maybe is like a little spoon thing. I'm going to look around at the anywhere where water is dripping, anywhere that it's coming out. I'm going to watch its behavior. I'm going to use the tool again to grab some if I need to look at it without touching it. And in different spots down here, anywhere it's dripping off of the pipes. And I'm wondering if that will allow me to make this as an attack using my medical skills to determine what sort of effect water that looks like this might have on a person. Or is that too? If that's reaching, I'll try to grab something else.
So.
Actually, I have biology. Yeah, so if biology will work with that, I'll go with that instead.
A little less.
Yeah, a little less of a little
contortion. All right,
a little less cartoony. There we go.
So that makes it a 6.
Yes.
With an edge. And that lands.
Yay.
So,
All
Yeah.
that work and the water heaters have nothing to do with it.
So something really weird happens while you're trying to like scoop these samples and collect this water. It reacts. It pulls away from you and tries to evade you a little bit. It's not like gonna turn into a person and walk away, right? It's not like, but
Elemental.
but there's definitely something that's not just surface tension.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's like extra thick or anything. It's just like it's clearly pulling away from you, and sort of trying to retreat towards a puddle.
That's fascinating.
But you get a sample.
Okay.
Sample seems inert once it's in a vial or something, or a bag or whatever the hell you pulled out of your pocket.
Yeah.
It's not like moving around or anything.
Little bottle.
Right, you're not like, it's not Odo in there or anything. It's too late of a Star Trek reference. I should make an original series reference for this.
That's right. That series doesn't come out for decades.
While everyone is still mourning the loss. Well, first movie might be out. Anyway, sorry.
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yes, you have a sample. The water definitely behaved strangely. Yeah. So you're in the basement. You could explore more if you wanted to. But there's that.
Thing one is I'm actually going to head back up to share this information if I get that far, because I think that the adversary acts next. So if I remember correctly.
Close.
Do not stand next to the exploding water heater. Been there. Bad move.
Well, Stacy, did you go down into the basement with them? Okay.
So as you come back up out of the basement, it is like a breath of fresh air. Like that basement was damper and mustier than you might have realized as you were walking in. The humidity is very high. So next is actually Van Horn.
So I've been trying to pay attention and eavesdrop on his phone call.
So he has made a series of phone calls, the first of which sounded like some sort of partner, probably his wife. You get that tone of voice that people use when they call their partners, like, "Oh, hey, is everything okay?" So that was a phone
pretty
call.
Blasé for what just happened. That's pretty suspicious all by itself.
But he's definitely checking in, like, is everything fine? Are you safe?
Uses some kind of awkward pet name.
Oh yeah, no big deal. Just another dead girl, you know. Oh yeah, same as the others. Yeah.
Hey, Schnookums. Hey, doll. So, conversation with his wife. That seems to actually kind of calm him down a little bit, since things seem fine at home. And then he calls someone with whom his tone is much more official or officious. And he's talking about, there's been an incident. This is, this is clearly moving beyond the labs. We really need to try and get a handle on this. There's some nosy people here, and he glances at you. There's some nosy people here who might be able to do something about this. So he talks for a while, listens a lot, but it definitely seems like he's probably talking to some sort of professional dude on the phone, based on sort of tone and terseness of content. When he gets off the phone, he says, he comes over to you, Anne, and says, have you have you found a way to contain this yet?
Well, my friends are working on that, but it seems to me that one of the best ways to contain it would be to know what's going on. And since you obviously do, how about you not lie to me anymore? I mean, in a Southern accent, though. How about you start telling the truth, Mr. Van Horn?
He says,
See, I'm thinking Anne as a cop in the 70s. Forensic science was very early on still at that point. You know, there's fingerprints and stuff, maybe blood type. But by and large, I would think as a beat cop, you get your clues from people.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so he says, I am nothing but just a patron of the sciences. I have nothing to do with this research other than offering my funds, perhaps some facility space to the department, to the school, whatever's needed. But I'm not involved in the minutia, and I really think it's not in your best interest to make accusations about my involvement in this project. I'm just a businessman, and this is an attack on your nerve.
My nerve.
I believe on your nerve.
Well, I was just going to say, because I have my deductive mind blocks attacks on my wits, so that's why I was.
Yep.
Yeah, nerve is fine. If he's intimidating me into backing off as opposed to really trying to fool me.
Yeah, this is definitely more of a bullying than anything else, and it is boosted with his veneer of respectability skill. So it's coming in as a 6.
Okay, so I definitely would need something to boost it.
I'm not sure you can.
I can't boost it?
I mean, I don't think you can get above a 6.
Well, my nerve is a 6. It is a 3, so I would have to get above a 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So a boost would make it 6, but yeah. So, what are my options? Just I'm gonna get intimidated.
So.
I mean, if that's how it works, then sure.
Let me think of I didn't think of an edge. Let's see. Does not have credible threat. I don't think he has a good edge. So it doesn't have to unnerve you.
Okay.
It can piss you off. It can, right? Like you can have sort of whatever reaction.
I'm definitely thinking pissed off is kind of how Anne would be feeling to like this, because I think she really can't stand rich people who think they can get away with anything.
Okay.
And the fact that she just heard him on the phone talking about containment, suggesting other incidents have happened, and now he's going to try to tell her, oh no, I don't know anything about this. Yeah, she's pissed off.
Okay. So you can take that as an affliction if you want to.
Okay.
It does mean it's targetable.
Yeah.
Or you can take a point of stress and still be pissed, but you won't have that affliction.
I'll take the affliction just because that's the thing that we can do in the game.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So that was Van Horn. I think I will So I'm trying to figure out time. So it's after 7. And we have stress boxes left.
All right.
So,
Yeah, if it helps at all, the next thing Stacy was going to go do was hunt down someone on the research project and start asking very pointed questions.
Okay. I was thinking, since we're running long, we could go ahead and make big decisions, big choices, and so I could Anne could pull out her revolver and basically say, "You're going to tell me."
Moving into
everything
torture
you know right now. Well, not necessarily
extreme
torture,
intimidation,
in threatening for sure.
Okay, so let's have so it's the adversary's turn. They will the pressure. Okay. Okay. Mrs. Belmont breezes through and says, "Are you all quite done yet? It's we're down to just a few people, and you all are the only ones, or you all are the noisiest, most visible problem people here. Would you mind hiding for about an hour so that we can, clean things up and let the investigators come through and do their thing?" So this is
Wait, we're hiding from which investigators? Or is that meant to be a perplexing?
She says that the cops are going to be here shortly, just to make sure everything's fine. Someone calls in a report.
Because I think Anne's reaction to that would be, good. Show them in here. I'll tell them all about what just happened.
Well, no, this has to be handled delicately. This has to be handled a certain way. So if you all could just, please, I'll let you have access again. Just go over here. You could just be in this. There's a bedroom down here. Just wait in there, and we'll let the cops do their thing, and then you can take back over again.
So is this directed at both Stacy then and Anne, since we're the ones still in the hallway?
It is.
Well, I think Adrian came back up too.
Adrian came back up, so it is
all three of us.
All three of you. This is a charm attack to attempt to convince you. It is boosted with the secretive skill, and has an edge of for a charm. I think obligation might apply here. She's given you access.
Yeah.
She could have kicked you out. She's going to continue to give you access. So that would be a charm of 4 with an edge.
So, quick rules question. So, the quirks can be used to boost too, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So I know how Stacy's going to react to this, but I don't know if anybody else would like to go first. But I can dive in.
I think. So are we? Is this we're defending with nerve or wits or you have to? I mean, because she's going with charm, but what do we defend with?
I think this is probably wits. I think this is probably wits.
All right. So I have a deductive mind that blocks all edges that attack my wits.
Okay. So even if it lands, it only does 1 stress.
Yeah, and I think can I boost with my investigation skill that's being tried to separate us from the proper authorities and clearly keeping secrets was not how you do an investigation. It seems like she's intending to have us cover stuff up. Otherwise, why would we be separated from the real cops?
I think that works. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Stacy at this point has marched out of the bathroom, wet, miserable. And she looks at her and she goes, and I'm going to use my true Southerner on this. She's going to be like, ma'am, you're trying to hide us. You're not being the most gracious hostess. And let me tell you, I'm going to tell people about that. Like, they're going to know that your party was awful and that I got wet and that your house is broken. And what is that going to do with your social status?
She's initially sort of taken aback and then tries to stay composed, but gets a little upset.
So I'm like kind of threatening her.
Yeah.
And so that'll add in, I guess, my mind, so that brings me up to a 5.
Okay.
So if I'm using my investigation skill, I would just be saying, that doesn't make any kind of sense. Unless you're planning some sort of a cover-up, it doesn't make any sense at all that you would try to keep us away from the police. So I think that you are up to something sinister. And I will add my mind in. That makes it a 6.
All right. Jim?
So I think that what I'm going to say is that, ma'am, as they say further west than here, this is not my first rodeo. I have a rather good understanding of how to handle such situations when the police come, as I have, as you may have heard about a number of marches that took place recently, and that we were able to peacefully go about our business, even when there were situations between the some of the folks that were disagreed with that, and us and the police. You may recall that some things recently that might have otherwise been a bit harsher in the news went more easily. I want to use my quirk of social activist on this to kind of explain this. Like, it's just I understand how and where to stand and how to be when police are coming through.
All right. So let's pause, have an out-of-character conversation about what we want to do. So we are about, could say a little more than halfway through the conflict. So that is not good for time. If this were a normal game, I would say let's have another session, right? Split that up. Yeah. That does not work in a one shot. We could try a quick sort of collaborative narration, sort of drop out of rounds quite so formally, and do more sort of soft RP and move through. It would almost assuredly guarantee your success, right? But it would be sort of like, what kind of story do we want to make here instead? Or other ideas?
I think at this point, hearing that actual police are coming, Anne's position would really be good. Let's tell them exactly what's going on here. And she would essentially say to Belmont and Van Horn, it's like, it seems to me that something very suspicious is happening here, and I demand that I would like to speak to the police when they arrive, unless you can give me a much better reason why I shouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like we're in a good spot where everybody's kind of knows what they're looking for. That doing kind of a soft power RP through the end would, even though it guarantees our success, then we get to find out what's going on.
All right. Okay.
I'm okay with that as far as that goes. I think that it is as it goes. I'm foreseeing kind of where it leads to if you want to go with it that way, and just maybe lightly keeping an eye on what we do have available as our character resources to throw in should we wish to justify things going well. And I'm even fine with it not necessarily being guaranteed that things will go well, but as more of a just sort of see where the
I'm just
evening goes.
eager to use my Anne's Chekhov's revolver. Handbag here.
Excellent. All right.
Alternatively,
the monster breaks through the walls.
Yeah. Alternatively, sorry.
It doesn't have to be a one-shot. I would be more than happy to schedule another day to continue. If we wanted to. I've done that in the past.
There is a possibility, which normally I do not plan such things whilst streaming, but let's do that. There is as it turns out, in October, and you can tell me, let me know if this will work. I originally was going to be out of town on the last weekend of October, and so I've only scheduled 3 sessions of Don't Rest Your Head, which is going to be coming up. If you wanted, you could take the last weekend in October if you think that you'd be able to come back and do that if you wish. So it'd be the last Sunday in October. Would that
the 28th?
Yeah. So if you want to turn this into a 2-parter, we could do that. Otherwise, I'm perfectly fine with sort of dropping into soft RP and just going that way.
I am available.
I think I would be available also, if that's what we want to do.
I can be available.
Yeah, if it's okay. I mean, I don't want to like tear you folks away from anything that you need to be doing otherwise.
I have absolutely no problem with it. Yeah. I kind of want to know what's going on. So
okay, I would love to.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
all right. And it took
a short recap. And yeah, I know, right?
It totally works.
So for those of you watching at home, we'll be back in like 4 weeks.
In about a month, yeah. So, I was looking for a horror themed thing for since it was October for the final thing. So.
Shit! Halloween.
We kind of have that going for us as well. All right then. So, do you want me to go ahead and start the wrap up? And we just put a bookmark there. Is that good? Or
yeah. So let's pause right as cops are approaching. The Belmonts are going to be trying to manage the cops, and
that the water is moving on its own.
That the water is at least wiggling on its own.
Yeah, I think Anne hasn't heard anything about that yet. So it's like, or did she? Like, I think she didn't. Is kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not sure how much was shared when Adrian came back up.
Because
But
I think, Anne is going for the, this sort of approach of like, usually the simplest answer is the right one. And this guy clearly knows something, and he's probably either responsible or who is. And the fact that there's a weird, bizarrely, like, how does someone get desiccated like that? Well, I don't know. That's for the, that's for the scientists to figure out. I'm just looking for who did it.
Excellent. All right. So I have a bunch of notes that I'll probably, we can chat afterwards about the logistics of things. But I think we're good to bookmark there.
All right.
Wrap it up.
Excellent. Well then, that being the case, one or 2 shots as these things happen. Sometimes is the case, but I'm perfectly fine with that. So yes, suddenly across the screen it says "to be continued."
So
You see a droplet of water
laughing.
Yes, yes. I was in need of of an icon of some kind for this channel. No. We're gonna go around one more time and say who we are and where folks can find us, and say how we're doing, what we think of how the game's been going thus far. So I'm gonna same order as before. I'm gonna start with Christiana.
We're summing up the session here, or
what do you think so far of what's been of the game?
Well, I mean, I definitely obviously we did a lot of role play up front, so like that definitely takes up time, and it's fun. I'm not complaining. Definitely I'm excited to see more of the conflict stuff, because it's sort of very different approach. Without any dice or randomness compared to, say, Dungeons and Dragons or anything. So I'm kind of excited to see more permutations of that.
Awesome. And where can folks find you if they want to find you online?
Well, so my Twitter handle is @Christiana_Ellis. My Twitch channel is also Christiana Ellis. And I run 2 Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, usually Wednesdays and Saturdays, on that Twitch channel, and among the other things I do that are all at christianaellis.com.
Awesome. And then Kelly, same question. What do you think of the game so far, and where can folks find you?
I think this is really cool. I'm very much more of a ROLE player than an ROLL player. So I definitely really like this system, and I think in the past I've shied away from playing things in like a more modern setting because of the dice rolling and the way the combat works. It just feels very unnatural. But because this is really just all of the attacks and all the combat is all based on like who your character is and the kinds of things that they're able to do, I think that's really, really cool. And it makes it very suited for this more modern-esque setting. And I can see how it would be suited for any setting though, but I really like it in this modern thing. I think I'm super cool, want to play some more. So I'm really excited I got to be part of it. You can find me on Twitter at @KellyLane. That's my online presence. But Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, I play a half-elven noblewoman cleric on Scraticus's channel on Twitch in our Cursive Strahd campaign. And I pop up in and out on all sorts of different channels, playing all sorts of different TTRPGs. So if you want to know where I am any given week, Twitter is the place to go.
Awesome.
Also, keep an eye out. Me and my friends are collaborating on a new cosplaying website group thing. And once I get myself together, it'll actually be like online. So keep an eye on my Twitter for that too.
Excellent. Awesome. Folks, definitely take a look. Just to keep an eye out for that. And finally, Melissa, how's it going? What do you think of how it's been going so far? And where can folks find you?
Pacing of role play is always a struggle for me as a GM or as a narrator. And this system, I think, because it is inclined to sort of have this free form opening before you really pull a lot of mechanics in, this is something we struggle with a lot in our game on Saturdays that we play with Jim a lot. And so it really just kind of depends on the crowd and like whether the narrator really wants to push, and I didn't do that well enough here, I think. So here we are. But
I think that depends on where you're sitting. I'm glad that you didn't push because I've had a lot of fun.
Excellent.
I'm excited to play.
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying discovering stuff, so it's been very cool. I enjoy things that have a slow burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't tend to use Twitter personally much, but futureproofgames.com and Play Futureproof is our company. So that's both me and Gregory, who has been in the chat. I'm on Mastodon. If anybody else, there's other people on Mastodon, but mastodon.social, and my username is Melissa Avery Weir, no hyphen. And I'm there quite a bit. I like it a lot. So yes, I think that sums up my location.
Coolness. And personally, I've been enjoying this quite a lot. I like stuff like this. I like this genre, and I like that that we're able to sort of dip our toe in and get into it, and it's very cool getting to see the system used for other genres. I've seen it used for a few while I've been helping playtest every now and then. And then more recently in sort of the campaign that I've been playing in. If I may share briefly, just to show the range of this thing, the campaign that we play on those are the Saturdays that I'm not here or not going to be here when other Saturdays when I'm running my channel is running Cold Ruins of Last Life, and Saturdays I'm not here. I'm actually playing with Melissa and Greg and other folks in a sci-fi setting, as in the far future on a space station, and just to show really the range of this whole thing, the character I'm playing is a sort of a collective life form. It's a bunch of microorganisms that have formed a matrix of a mind, and it looks like as they're suspended in this conductive liquid, and it looks like a big glass of beer walking around, basically.
Do they ever go into water pipes and then suck all the water out of
and possibly desiccate corpses?
Did I cross world?
Oh no! Okay, if we're dealing with someone from Isophorus Prime, then we need to run now. Yes. This is not good. This is during the Protectorate era, and they were not nice back then. But anyway,
we used microscope to create that world. So we had 2 or 3 sessions where we just took a whole picnic table, right, laid out all the cards and did that whole thing to sort of lay the framework, and then left a lot of space, right? We don't even know what date it is. It's just far future, and we just fill in historical events whenever we want to. So Rosette Diceless doesn't provide an origination through world building thing. So, Dawn of Worlds, microscope, use whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I really have enjoyed that quite a lot, and I'm enjoying this session. And I just want to thank everyone for coming and playing, and Melissa for running.
Thank all of you.
Once more, I am Jim Ryan. This is my channel. I'm OtherDoc on Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I've also just released a short story on Amazon. It's called Titanic Jocularity. It's a bit of a Munchausen pastiche. If you like stories about Restoration-era pilots flying wooden ships through space and getting into contests on Saturn's moons, you might want to check it out. In the meantime, here on Twitch, we're about to tumble into October with new programming. Tomorrow in the early evening, I'm going to take a stab at recording a podcast live on the stream. So Jim, Yes That Jim, my rambling introspective show, is what I'm going to take a stab at, and we'll see how that goes. Then on Tuesday night, I'm going to be back over at Off the Table, their channel, where I play in their weekly game of Urban Shadows, and I get to play my cynical monster doctor. That's the other doctor that I'm playing right now on a fairly regular basis. I was saying earlier that Melissa knew me too well when I looked at the characters, because it sort of ended up. I looked at it, I was like, no, yes.
How could I not think of your sense of humor?
Yeah. This is fair. So then I get Wednesday off, and then on Thursday, back on this channel, we'll be live with the 22nd episode of the Cyphercast. That is the podcast I produce for the Cyphercast Network, and that's all about products coming out of Monty Cook Games, Numenera, The Strange, the Cypher System, Invisible Sun, everything. We decided during our hiatus to try taking the show live, and this Thursday night, that's what we're doing, heaven help us. So feel free to tune in for that if you'd like to see that balloon go up. Friday afternoon, I'm going to be back to PC games. I'll be continuing with Thimbleweed Park, which I think I'm actually starting to get close to the ending of, hopefully. Saturday morning, I'm playing more We Happy Few, which I'm enjoying a lot. Then Saturday afternoon, we'll be back to RPGs with the second episode of the Cold Ruins of Last Life. I am excited to get back to that. It is a dungeon world game where everyone's playing undead, and I'm playing a spectral paladin who seems to be held together only by sheer force of will, or bloody-mindedness, we're not sure yet. And finally, 1 week from today, we're going to be starting our series of October one-shots that I alluded to earlier. For most Sundays in October, I'm going to be running Don't Rest Your Head, which is an urban fantasy horror game about superpowered insomniacs who've been awake for so long they've started being able to see the nightmares everywhere and gain access to the Mad City where they live. It's been a while since I've had a chance to run it, so I'm really looking forward to that. Well, folks, that is about it. I think I'm going to try a little bit of a raid when we go to the end card here. I haven't decided. It's either going to raid Grimjack or I'm going to raid Monty Cook Games. I haven't decided quite what. Oh, Happy Jacks is broadcasting. Let me decide that when we get to the end card. So anyone who wants to hang around for that may feel free to do so. But thank you very much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I will see you all of a sudden. Farewell.